I'm Dana K. White. I'm the author of Decluttering at the Speed of Life. I'm the creator of the No Mess Decluttering process. And today I'm going to use the No Mess Decluttering process to help you break through one of the most common decluttering roadblocks. That roadblock is, I want to keep it, but I have no idea where to put it. Okay? Just so you know, Get Organized HQ is coming up. I have a session that you can watch for free for the first 24 hours after it goes live. If you want to find out more about that, go to aslobcomesclean.com/HQ. I'm talking about breaking through decluttering roadblocks in my session. Okay, so this roadblock, very, very common frustration with decluttering. And when I say roadblock, the problem is when something becomes a roadblock, it means that you can be decluttering along and then you run across something and it just stops you in your tracks. So there has to be a way to break through that roadblock. And the No Mess Decluttering process is the way, right? Okay, so I just want to be clear from the beginning that I do not consider it a strategy to stop wanting the thing, right? Like that's not my goal today, to try to convince you don't want it. You shouldn't want it. And I know it sounds dumb to say that, and yet that often is what happens when you don't have an actual process to work through deciding if this thing should stay. You're like, but I want it, but there's no place, but I want it. And it just spins out my brain. And so I have to have a way to work through this. Okay. So it's not a strategy. That's not what I'm here to do to convince you to not want it. Let's just admit that you want it. But just wanting the item doesn't mean it's not clutter. Okay? As long as it doesn't actually have a place in your home where it can go and have space to be, then that's what makes it clutter. Okay? So decluttering is either giving something a home, like an actual home, and making sure there's room for it there, or getting it out of the house. As long as you just set it aside for, okay, I want this thing, I'm going to stick it in a box. I'm going to shove it in a different closet. I am going to put it in a pile to figure out later, whatever. It's still clutter. So that's also not a strategy just to say, I want it, so stick it over here and I'm going to keep it, right? So those are the two non-strategies we're going to go with. I want to be clear, in case you're not familiar with how I do things and you're worried I don't really mean it, that I'm going to try to convince you just to not want it. You can keep anything and have the house that you want to have. But you can't keep everything and have the house that you want to have. So sometimes you do have to make hard decisions about what can stay and what can go in order to get your house to the point where you can keep it under control and where it functions well for you. But it's not arbitrary, right? Like anything that is important to you deserves space in your home. So how do we go through this? Well, we go through this using my 2 decluttering questions, okay? Primarily, we're gonna zero in on the first decluttering question. So the first decluttering question is, if I needed this item, where would I look for it first, okay? That is how you identify where a home for this item needs to be, okay? Just wanting it doesn't do anything to actually change it from being clutter. Giving it a home is how it is no longer clutter, right? How you give it a home is according to where you would look for it first if you needed it, okay? Now, to be clear, we're asking this question when we didn't know where the home should be, okay? So if your initial reaction is, well, I don't know where the home is. Okay, great. And I know I said that really dramatically, but that's how y'all say it in the comments. I just want to be clear, like this is the question you ask when you don't know where the home should be. That's how you identify it. And think of it as identifying the home as opposed to picking the home, okay? Picking a home, again, allows your brain to spin out, which is the thing that makes this a roadblock, right? If I'm picking the home, I'm thinking, what's the very best home? Well, but will I ever remember that it's there? And will I ever be able to find it again? Or I do put it in a very best home and then I never can find it or whatever. That is a roadblock when I get stuck in that cycle of trying to figure out this very best home when I'm like, but I don't know what the very best home is, right? So instead, I'm identifying the home according to the instinct of where I would look first, not knowing that it's going to be there, right? And this is what I mean. When I ask myself the question, if I needed this item, where would I look for it first? Okay. I am picturing myself at the beginning of what I assume is a 3-hour search, tearing my house apart, looking for this item. Where's the first place where I would go? This is instinct. There's no confidence in it, right? Like, I'm not like, oh, I would absolutely go to this place. No, I am going on the instinct of picturing myself in this moment, needing this item, and then going there. And then that is where I'm going to put it. So let's say I have as an example, my husband's, he's had this since college, Batman mask, right? Okay. Now, if we were like, oh, of course I want to keep it. Well, the answer is, of course he would want to keep this, right? Because he, when he was a principal, he would, dress up for different events and things as Batman, and he still finds reasons to volunteer. People call on him to be Batman, right? So anyway, so he has his Batman mask. So there might be people in the world who would say, you know what? You're not a principal anymore. So technically you don't have an every single year, you're going to have a reason to wear this. And so maybe we should just admit the fact that you're not going to, we don't do that, right? Instead we go, okay, instead of going through this whole, there's the Batman symbol for you to see, that I'm not just holding up a big black thing, Anyway, instead we're just saying if we needed the Batman mask, where would we look for it first? I texted him and I said, hey, if you needed your Batman mask, where would you look for it first? Well, of course he said, well, in that room over there is where it's been. And I said, yeah, but if that room was decluttered, where would you look for it first? And he said, well, I would look for it on the top shelf in my closet. And I'm like, okay, then that is where it needs to live, because that's where he would look for it first. I do this for anything and everything in my home. There is nothing that comes along that cannot be decluttered using this question. Decluttering being either giving it a real home or getting it out of the house, okay? So I asked myself this question. If I needed my Batman mask, where would I look for it first? And then the key is to take it there right now, okay? Because as long as I come up with an answer and then set it aside in a box or in a pile or wherever to do this later, it's not actually decluttered yet. I have not achieved decluttering until this item either has a home or it's gone from my house, right? So taking it there now is how I know, is there room for it? Do we actually have 6 other Batman masks? We don't. But Batman masks? Anyway, we don't. But that's the kind of thing that happens with staplers or tape or fingernail clippers or whatever, is you take it to this place where you look for it first and you have this reality check of, oh, actually, I have 6 other Batman masks, and, these are the 2 best or the 3 best or whatever. That reality check is key. That's how I declutter my overall home. Okay, is I go ahead and I take it there right now and I face that. So that's the process. I ask myself where I would look for it first. I go on the instinct, not on the logic, right? I take it to that place and I face the reality of that space. If I get to the top shelf of his closet and it is completely packed full, well, then we say, okay, well, what are you willing to get rid of in order to make the space that you need for your Batman mask? Like, that is the process. There are no, oh no, what do I do now moments. There's no need for it as long as I am following the no mess decluttering process. By the way, you can get a printable of the 5 steps at aslobcomesclean.com/5, F-I-V-E, okay? All right, so I go to that space now, I take it there now, I face the reality of that space. If there's not room for it, then I either get rid of something that deserves space less than this, which there is generally something that is easy and obvious and non-emotional that I can get rid of, trash or an obvious donation. Or I decide, okay, I'm not willing to get rid of anything in order to make the space for this. So it's actually not as important to me as I thought. Do I want it? Absolutely, I want it. But when I really face reality, when I face the fact that there is no room for this item, then I'm able to say, I want it. And yet, I don't have the space for it. And there is something that happens in a brain like mine that makes it okay, right? Like there is something about not having to reject the item that I want, but instead embrace the facts that I want the item, but there's no room for it, that lets me let it go. Again, if it's really important to me, then I'm willing to get rid of something else to make the space for it. But that is how I work through that decluttering roadblock. Now, if I ask that first decluttering question and my answer was, I don't have a place where I would go looking for it, then I have the reality check that comes with my second decluttering question, which I only ask if I can't answer the first one. And that is, if I needed a Batman mask, would it occur to me that we already had one? It's tough, right? And this is the thing that lets me not have to arbitrarily get rid of everything I've forgotten that we had, right? Like if I started with the question, would it ever occur to me that I already had one? Well, I'd be getting rid of a lot of things that I would then resent that, well, no, I forgot that I had it, but I feel like I would go, okay, I can keep it, right? As long as I have a place where I would look for it first and I go take it there now, and give it space in that spot. But when I did not have a place where I would go looking for it, then I asked this question, would it ever occur to me that I already had one? I would either go buy a Batman mask, which is a completely valid solution, right? Or I would go and do without it, and be something else other than Batman that year. Both of those are valid things, right? And so that acknowledging that reality, embracing that reality is the thing that lets me let it go. If I insist that I know that I have it, well, that means there has to be a place where I would look for it first. So I go back to that question, the first question, I say, okay, I was not acknowledging and embracing my instinct of where I would look for it first. So I'm going to picture myself looking for it. And I'm going to say, okay, where would I look for it first? Frantically, with no confidence it's going to be there, in a total moment of frustration and irritation over where would I look for it first? And when I put it in that place where I would look for it first and I give it real space in there, not just shove it in by getting rid of something else if there's not room for it, then that's the home. That's what the home needs to be. Just so you see that even though I want it, but I have absolutely no idea what to do with it or where to put it, it's not a roadblock when you work through the two decluttering questions, okay? Because not knowing where to put it or not knowing where it goes is no longer a problem when I know that the place for it to go is the place where I would look for it first. And so I'm going to ask myself that question to identify, to figure out where it goes, not to decide where it goes, but to know where it should go, because that's the place where I would look for it first. And I just want to assure you that it does get easier, right? Like, I completely understand if you feel like this is a roadblock that you have run into every single time you tried to declutter. It has stopped you in your tracks. This is the reason you've never made progress. I totally get it. But my encouragement to you is to work through the process. Ask the two questions. Really go with that instinct, even though you're like, what? I would look for my Batman mask in the bottom drawer of my television entertainment center? Like, that's such a dumb answer. That can't be the right answer. If that's where you would look for it first, that's where it needs to live. Go through the process. Go through the whole process. Go to that space and have that realization that, you know what, there's actually no room for this item that I totally want, but I'm able to blame it. Practice blaming the space for being the reason that you can't keep an item that you really want to keep, that you really love it. Go through the process, and every time you do, you get a little more understanding of, okay, yeah, I thought I would never be able to get rid of that item, and I brought myself to the point, I worked through that roadblock, I brought myself to the point where I realized, okay, I can actually get rid of this thing that I never thought I could get rid of. Or, oh, okay, I actually gave this item a home. I didn't have to change everything about me and what I like and what I want. I was able to give the thing a home, even though it's something that my mother would have said was weird for me to keep, right? Whatever. Like, go through the process and you'll get better and better. You'll get more confident. You'll know the process. You'll understand. You'll experience all of that. And it really is powerful in making future decluttering easier because you go into it with the confidence that you'll be able to work through any roadblock that comes along. Okay, so just a reminder, if you want to watch my free session for the first 24 hours after it goes live, you can do that at Get Organized HQ. Go ahead and sign up, and then you'll get the emails to know when to go watch my free session, okay? Where I talk through lots of decluttering roadblocks and how to work through them using the no mess decluttering process. Okay, I hope that was helpful. It's always a little weird coming back after the summer. Thanks for those of y'all who are back, because I'm always like, oh, I gotta get back into talking to a camera. So anyway, all right, I will talk to y'all next week. Bye.